Hi there, welcome to video number 7, looking at a new way of programming aircraft using templates and looking at where input events can help us. So this one is looking at the ADF in the cockpit. So if we get into the cockpit straight away, it's this ADF here, and if I turn on the battery, you can see it's alive now. So this one here consists of 3 rotaries, one that controls the hundreds, the tens and the units for the frequency. And if I bring in my X-Touch, so an actual camera here, I've allocated these to layer B. I don't use them very often, the ADF, so it's less important. So it's on layer B for me here. Well, if we start to allocate straight away and have a look at what's going on, if we do a filter here for ADF, there are some legacy functions here which will do the increase and decrease of the units, the tens and the hundreds. There are also some input events that do the same thing, but we need to write scripts to make these work. And to be honest with you, use the ADF so infrequently, and these work fine. I'm going to carry on with these. So if we start with the hundreds, so we'll do the units hundreds increase, and that is on this rotary here. So the increase is turning it to the right, and add that in. And we'll now do the decrease for the same one. So it's not difficult, but just a bit laborious that we've got to go through all the steps, but we can do the hundreds decrease here. And then the tens. Do the increase. And the decrease. And we'll do the same again for the units. And we'll just test them all. So do the hundreds in both directions, the tens and the units, and that's working absolutely fine. So the next button that we've got across here is the mode for the ADF. I'm not really sure what all the different modes do, but if we zoom in and have a watch this control here, it goes from BFO to REC to ADF and to blank there. And what we need to do really is to watch the events and see what variable is happening here. And because it's using one of these new input events, and it's navcom mode, and when it's in BFO, it's 0, 1, 2, 3. So 4 modes, but starting at 0. And to be honest with you, I'm really running out of rotaries that I can turn for the mode. So I'm going to allocate it to this one here. So it's when it's in layer B, pressing this one here will change the state, the mode for the ADF. So we are going to need a script for that one. So into scripting, and we need to create a group here. So the group is going to be my and it's a 152 ADF. Again, I don't know the model number of this one, so I'm going to call it the 152 ADF, and I'll recognise it when if I have to use it again in a different aircraft. So it's that group here is where we're going to put the code, and this one here is going to be the ADF mode. So what I want to do is to write a script so that every time I press this button it steps through the sequence of possible modes. And I said there are modes 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we've got 0, 1, 2 and 3. We don't need a 4. But it's going to go back through those modes as well. So go back through 2 to 1. When it's got to the end, it'll end up back at 0. Now the function that we're going to use for this is called the index sequence, the ISEQ function. And what we need to do is to read the variable for where the mode currently is, and you can't pick it up from the variable here, so you have to pick it up as a sim event and edit it. So if we do a search for the ADF, we've got this ADF mode, which is actually an event at the moment. So we need to edit this last little bit out here and tell it to read that as a variable. And we also need to tell the sequence here how many options there are. So how many inputs there are. 0, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different elements that it's going to step through. Now it's an index sequence. What would happen is it would look at the mode that it's currently in and then run along here looking for a match, and then it would get the next one in the sequence and write it into the variable, if that makes sense. I've done a whole video on this that you could probably find and see the intricacies of how it works, but again just a quick explanation of how it works. Let's put that mode in here as an event this time. Now I don't want the 1, I don't want it to write a 1 in. What I want it to do is to run along here, find a match, pick up the next one in the sequence and write it into back into the variable, which is what this is about. But unfortunately what would happen is if it was looking for, say, it was in mode 2, it would get to here and it will put mode 3 in. It would never get to here. As soon as it found that, it would be satisfied. So what we do is we have to have another variable that we create, which is an index, to remember where it got to last time, so it only starts searching from where it left off. So it's a local variable we're going to create, and I'll just call it the ADF index. The ADF index there, and we're going to need to read it here and write to it so it updates the index in the second part. So if we just do a quick copy of that and we'll paste it in and adjust this so that it's an input. So that index is going to update itself, and this one here is the actual mode that it was in and the new mode that it's going to be. And we should save that as new. And we can sort of demonstrate it working by pressing this test button here, and you'll see it stepping through the various modes and back again. So that's what's going to happen when we allocate it to this push switch here, making sure we're on layer B for this one. So this time we are using one of the new, using my script, sorry. Close that, let's do a search for my. ADF, and it's this one here. We're using that script. So when I allocate that to here, click on add, and again we'll test that button and we should see it going through the different modes, which it does quite happily. The other control that's on here is an ADF volume. So if you look in the ADF here, it's got a volume increase and decrease. We don't really need to write a script for this one. So we'll put that, allocate that to this rotary here. The idea behind that volume is that we should be able to hear the Morse code ident for the frequency we've tuned into. And we'll do the decrease one of those. So we should see this rotating as we move this. The reason I got it there is because it has got an off position here, so you can turn it off and on as well, so that's important. Right, last thing is it doesn't work with this instrument here, this card here. Again, if we narrow that, do our search down for the ADF, can't actually see one that controls that card. But let's have a look at the variables that are going on. So again, we'll watch the events, ignoring the spam, and turn this. There is an ADF card set. Now I've been having problems with the card setting. Let's again go and look at these events. There it is. The card set, the card decrement and increment. Since the latest update, it sometimes moves in 1 degree movements, and sometimes it goes more than that, and it does 4 degrees. And you can see that it says here that if the key is pressed for more than 2 seconds, it'll do 4 degrees. So it'll do 10 degrees if it's more than 10 seconds, or 4 degrees if the key is pressed for more than a second, or 1 degree if it's normal. And it quite often is 1 degree, but then sometimes when I'm flying it moves far too far. So I'm not quite sure what's going on since the latest update. So I am going to use a script this time to make sure that this works. So I'm going to use a script based around this ADF instrument, and that one seems to work more reliably. So it's into the scripting again, and it's to do with the ADF, so it's in my ADF, and we'll just call it ADF. We'll do the increase one first of all. So again, we need that sim event in. Which we'll pick out of these events here, and it's the ADF instrument that we're going to be altering. So if we drop that in there, and then we'll copy that because we're going to need it again in a minute, and paste that in. Okay, so we don't want it to input at this point, we want it to read the variable, so we change this to read the variable. And what I want to do is to actually add 1 to this. So find the current value and 1, add them together and write it back into there. So that is the ADF increase done, and then we can use that for the decrease as well. by just changing that to a minus. I will save that as new. So we've got those two that we can allocate now. So again, the filter will be for my ADF. We'll put the increase in first of all, which is the ADF card, increasing that one, and then we'll just do the decrease one. And we'll give that a quick test. So you can see that moving up and down. Now, to be honest with you, turning this knob, it means a lot of turning if you need to get a long way around. So one of the things we can do is we can create another script. Let's go back into scripting on my ADF here, and for the increase we could create a fast version of it, make it go say 5 degrees instead of just the 1 degree. So I'll save that as a new, and we'll do the decrease one while we're here. And save that as new. So if you allocate them again now, we'll do the fast increase, and allocating it to the same button, same controller, but we'll put in the fast turn, and I'm going to make it 200 milliseconds, and we'll click on add for that. We'll just test that one to see if that works. So if I do a slow turn, it goes one at a time. And if I do it just slightly faster, you can see it moves around considerably faster. So you can move around and then do the final clicks. So we'll do the same for the decrease version. We'll have a fast decrease as well. There we are. My ADF, and we've got the fast decrease, again a fast turn of 200 milliseconds, and we'll turn that, just give the quick test. Okay, that seems to work quite well. So there we are, we've got control of the numbers, the mode, the volume and the card. So that is going to be a template. So we will save this as a template. So following the conventions, we remind ourselves that this one was made because of the Honeycomb Yoke that I've got. So it's an HC and it's the C152 ADF. And we'll save that. Okay, so that's it for this video, and we'll move on to a different topic on the next video.